Mihi rā ki tarangi e tū, mihi ai ki te whenua e kakotoki wahanga. Ka tika kia mihi kia rātou, I mate kai tēnā marae, kai tēnā marae, kai tēnā marae o tata. Ka tahi rā ka mihi, kia tuku porporaki kia rātou, mariki hia rā, mākua I te whenua kia rātou, e takahia I tērā te arawhānu I aua, kai atu rā ki tēnā te wāhi ki tiri mātāu I te tawi. Nō reira koutou rā, hoki atu, hoki atu, hoki atu. Hia kai runga I tēnā te moana ka tai rā ki te moana te whakaarua wharo. Mai te rato I tēnā te mutuawa, ka tai ki tēnā te wairo ho pūpū ho ngene mātangira. Tēnei te mihi ki ngā uri o kura haupo, ngā uri o tākitimu e kia nei me ki ko te wairo e mihi ki a tātou katu. Tēnā tātou e pūhia nei te haupua hia nei te ua e whitia nei e tera. E hara mai anō kai roto I tēnei hui, ai nā tēnei o tātou e karangahia, nō reira nau mai, haere mai. Hoi rā mātau o tātou e te wairo, e hihiana I oko te whakaro kia whāriki hia, kai rote ēnā ngā kōrero I kōnei, me ki rā kai rote I te pātū o te wharene. Nō reira tēnei te mihi, a te nā koutou, a koe, a koro, kai atu rā ki ngā uri katoa e nā ngā waka I kōrorohia, tēnā koutou, a tēnā koutou, a huri no tēnā tātou. Kia tuku mai rā ki tēnei o tātou nei tiamana, leo nāna, hei kōrero, timatatanga mātātou.
Welcome, my name is Leon Simons, I'm the chairperson of Tātou Te Wairoa Trust. I welcome you here today and taking time out this afternoon to listen to our presentation, as well as looking at our booklet as you all collected from the front. If you haven't signed in, please do so out the front. There's also a registration desk there as well to check that you're registered. Because we need to make sure that we get as many of our members as registered as possible. Because at the end of the day, we want you to be participating in this discussion. We want you to be participating in a vote in terms of the direction and where we're heading with our PSG Trust into the final model of what we're doing with the settlement. So we need you registered, we need you to partake in this discussion, because you need to give your trustees here, gathered here today, and can I get all the trustees here just to come down the front so we all can introduce ourselves. It's key that you have direct contact with the trust, and it's through your trustees that we want you to encourage you to kōrero with them, give your thoughts, not just here today, but also for the next coming months, as you've been doing through the August Engagement Hui that we had here previously. We want to continue that dialogue and making sure that we get out as many as people as possible, so that you participate in this process rather than just being decided. So I'll just get the trustees here today to come up and introduce yourselves. So if you know who they are or don't know who they are, at least you then, after today's hui, you can have a conversation with them outside, directly, one-on-one, just to create that connection and create that dialogue between trust and ourselves. So, pass it to the trustees.
Hitra came through, but Yole's a bit sick, so they're all to the doctor. Otherwise, we'll both together.
Kia ora, that's who the trustees here representing the trust today are present. Also, I need to make a special mention to Kochi Huata here. He's one of the kaumātua that currently sit on our kaumātua kahui, which is made up of 14 members as well. So they are also here to support the work that we've been doing in terms of the documentation and the presentation that we brought forward. So from our last engagement hui, we established that committee. They've been setting themselves up, working together with our project manager, Ropata Ainsley, who the dialogue back with the trustees to support. So we realise there's a lot of work that we need to do. That's why the project manager's on board to help us with that, but also we need to seek that guidance on certain issues. And that's why we're the kaumātua kahui's in operation. So that's the trust and basically how we've kind of set up and how we're running currently. So it's good today that you're here to meet them, here to have a look at the information that we're going to present to you. And if you've got further questions, please don't hesitate to either raise them in the Q&A session today or else approach the trustees to have that one-on-one conversation. So part of today's presentation is split into 3 sections. Unlike the first round of engagement, we had a workshop session. We found that really valuable. That gave us a lot of insight information, and the culmination of all that feedback is contained in that book, in the booklet and in the presentation today. So that was then. Now we're moving on to where we've taken, basically we asked you in that first round of engagement in August, had some high-level concepts there. There were 3 distinct concepts: devolution, amalgamation, and collaboration. Now just concepts at high level. What we're presenting to you today is that detail, the next underneath that. We took that information, the feedback you gave us, and then produced two models and one particular proposal about rōpū independence that came from the members' feedback in August. So we'll hopefully reflected that feedback in the booklet, in the information we're about to present. So we just wanted to know, basically, are we on the right track? Have we listened to what you've told us? Is there things that we need to change? So it gives the trustees more assurance and guidance. So when we do go make the final recommendation, that is reflective of the feedback that you've given to us. So it is quite a complex process. Not a lot of iwi or PSG entities go through this process about having the opportunity to decide on what the future looks like. It's usually preset and pre-done, and a lot of members don't get that opportunity to have this discussion. With this discussion comes a lot of responsibilities, because it is planning for the future. And these decisions we make now have a big impact on what happens in the future. So it is quite serious stuff that we need to be serious about in terms of making sure that what's reflected is what you want, what's discussed is in there. Make sure the direction you want the PSG to go into the future is the direction that you feel is going to best work for both. But at the same time, we realise that this is quite a difficult conversation because there can be quite diverse opinions. And that's why a lot of the times the other PSGs don't go through this process, because it can be a bit self-destructive. So we just want to make sure that everyone who wants to participate provides good feedback, good Q&A, to make sure that we are kind of wanting to move forward. A lot of feedback that's come so far has been reflective of our past journey. We understand that the past there's been made mistakes. We understand that, but we're at this point in time where we need to address those mistakes from the past and sort out a process to do that. But at the same time, we need to look forward to the future and make sure that we can culminate, put everything together and work cohesively together to move forward. So a lot of other iwis also don't go through this process, and when they don't go through this process, they find themselves tied up in a lot of turmoil, internal turmoil. That can create a lot of friction, that creates a lot of mistrust, that creates a lot of bad feelings with one another. So this is the time now we want to have that conversation, establish a clear direction on what particular kind of direction we need to take. So we're basically taking that feedback you've given us and come up with, as you see in the presentation there, we're about to have 2 models and also another process about rōpū independence. So originally we had 3 high-level concepts. Those are just high level. This is the detail that you wanted us to come back to you with about that. How would that happen? How would it look in terms of the future? So hopefully that's reflective of your feedback. If it isn't, if you've got some questions, that's after the presentation we're just about to see, please, please ask those now here, or else continue to provide questions to your trustees, fill in the feedback forms, and then give it back to the trustees. So that's where we're at. No, without any further ado, health and safety, doors, a clearly marked, wharepaku's through here again on the side. We'll be directed if there is any fire calls or call-outs on which direction we need to go in terms of the assembly point, I think, which is that way. So without any further ado, we'll play the presentation, and after that we'll have some questions and answers. Thank you.
Ka mihi ki o koutou katoa e tau kei rungu I te karanga. Kei ngā uri o kura aupō, kei ngā uri o tāki timu, nau mai, hara maira.
Tēnā koutou katoa, nau mai, haere mai. Thank you for joining us today in our second round of Engagement Hui to plan for our prosperous future. We are Tātou Tātou o Te Wairoa Trust, the post-settlement governance entity, or PSGE, for the iwi and hapu o Te Rohe o Te Wairoa. It is our responsibility, on behalf of our iwi and hapu, to manage the redress that will be received as part of our settlement with the Crown. In August this year, we held our first round of Engagement Hui across 9 locations in Aotearoa. Our trustees sought your feedback on our values, aspirations and principles, and on proposed concepts for how our representation and asset ownership structure could look in the future. It was great to see so many whānau participating, and new faces too, with many tuning in to watch the live-streamed videos and sending us their thoughts online. We received invaluable feedback from you during this time, which has shaped our trustees' mahi over the last 2 months. Now we're coming back to you to kōrero some more. Today's hui is an opportunity to hear more about the feedback you have provided so far, and to talk through our refined values, aspirations and principles, and models for representation and asset ownership. We want to know if we have heard you correctly, and if you agree with the proposals we present. What you tell us during this hui is critical to help shape the thinking on our future representative structure and about asset ownership arrangements. The presentation covers the key points in your information booklet. Following this presentation, we will have 30 minutes for you to ask any questions you may have. Ka tahi ka kaputi tātou, so you can meet and talk to your representatives and our support teams who are here today. Also, if you are not yet a registered member of Tātou Tātou o Te Wairoa, we can help you register today. We are back on a hikoi across Aotearoa, holding our second round of hui in Wairoa, Ahuriri, Te Whanganui Tara, Rotorua, Kirikiriroa, Tāmaki Makaurau, Te Papaioia, Waihōpai, me o Tautahi. We are presenting exactly the same information at each hui, which will cover a recap of our August hui and what we asked of you, a look at the feedback we received from whānau, our aspirations, values and principles, considering the refined approach, our recommended approach for representation, 2 models as options for our asset management. Your feedback is important. We want to know we have heard you correctly and if we're on the right track. What you tell us today will directly impact on the models our trustees recommend to you for voting on next year. Remember, it's you, our people, who ultimately decide on the future of Tātou Tātou. We will now focus on the areas where we want your feedback, thoughts and questions. Firstly, your aspirations, values and principles. In 2012, a series of workshops were held to identify our aspirations as we work towards the settlement. At our August Engagement Hui, we asked you to tell us whether these aspirations were still relevant to you today. These are important as they will help to guide tātou o te wairoa as we move forward. When providing feedback, we ask you to consider: do the aspirations, values and principles still fit for our whānau, hapu and iwi? How would you like us to operate? Do these best reflect your aspirations, values and principles? What might be missing? We will now look at the aspirations, values and principles which have been updated and refined to reflect what you have told us. Our updated and refined vision is tātou o te wairoa, he iwi motuhake, he tangata oranga ake. Our updated and refined aspirations centre around the well-being of our iwi, hapu and whānau. They are social well-being, restoration of health and social conditions for our iwi and hapu, cultural well-being, restoration and protection of the cultural identity of our iwi and hapu, environmental well-being, revitalisation of the local environment and restoration of our role as kaitiaki of our natural resources, economic well-being, rebuilding an economic base for our iwi and hapu and reassertion of our tino rangatiratanga. Our refined values and principles focus on the areas that you told us are most meaningful to you. They are wairuatanga, fostering our unique features of mana whenua and tangata whenua. Rangatiratanga, your right to be the architect of your own future and development. Manaakitanga, respecting, nurturing and caring for others. Kaitiakitanga, guardians of ngā taonga tuku iho, te taiao. Whanaungatanga, our kinship is determined through blood and whāngai, whakapapa. These refined aspirations, values and principles aim to reflect the feedback you have given us. So, have we heard you correctly? Do these aspirations, values and principles reflect the way you believe tātou should be guided in our mahi? E anga whakamua ana te waka, forging a new path. We will now look at the refined models for our future representation, and 2 models as options for our asset management structure. What we asked of you. At our previous engagement hui, we presented you with 3 asset and representation concepts. There were devolution, whakatoha-toha, collaboration, mahi-tahi, amalgamation, kotahitanga. Each of these concepts could be applied separately to assets and representation arrangements, or parts taken from each to create a new model. They reflect possibilities at each end of the scale and a middle option. In August, you told us what you thought of these concepts and why, what aspects you like and what parts you don't like. We have listened to your views and brought them together to develop a recommended representation approach and 2 new models for the future structure of tātou for you to consider. A representation approach could be 7 rōpū, like the existing kāhui groups, but based on rohe and tipuna. The new models for you to consider are Model 1, whakatōpū, Consolidated Ownership, shared management of assets for the benefit for all. Model 2, Kanoro, diversified ownership. Rōpū owns some assets and tātou owns some assets. We will now talk more about each of these options. From your feedback, many whānau want to continue on the path that we have forged through the settlement process so far, being grouped by kāhui or clusters of hapu for representation, then coming together under one umbrella group. After considering your feedback, the initial trustees recommend the following representation approach for Tātou Tātou o Te Wairoa Trust. 7 rōpū, like the existing kāhui groups, but based on rohe and tipuna. This means that each rōpū will include hapū that whakapapa to that tipuna, and marae that are based within that rohe. Each rōpū would elect its own 2 representatives, including at least 1 ahi kā, as trustees for Tātou Tātou. You would choose 1 rōpū for the purposes of voting to elect your trustees. You can also list other rōpū as part of your registration with Tātou Tātou if you have a whakapapa connection to 1 or more hapū within those other rōpū. We also need to decide if there should be the option for a rōpū to leave Tātou Tātou o Te Wairoa if it decided that it wanted to be independent. If our people want this to be able to happen, the Tātou Tātou Trust Deed would need to be amended. This would be done as part of the vote early next year on the structure of Tātou Tātou o Te Wairoa Trust. We have outlined a process in your information booklet on how this would work. The key principles are that high voting thresholds ensure fairness and a robust process. All adult registered members of Tātou Tātou would need to vote to approve the framework, as this ensures transparency for all. A rōpū could not trigger an exit at any time. They would have to do it within a certain period so Tātou Tātou has certainty going forward. If a rōpū becomes independent, they would no longer be a part of Tātou Tātou, not have any trustee representatives on Tātou Tātou, and remain connected to Tātou Tātou through a formal agreement for cultural redress and rights to purchase RFR land. This is your choice, whānau. If you think it is important for rōpū to have this option, we can include it in the special resolutions that you will vote on early next year. Now we will look a bit closer at the models for our asset ownership arrangements. All this information is contained in the information booklet from page 18 onwards. The first model is whakatōpū, Consolidated Ownership. In this scenario, Tātou Tātou owns and manages all assets for the benefit of all the iwi and hapū o te rohe o te Wairoa. Everyone shares in the whole of the assets, so no asset is given to a specific rōpū, and all ups and downs in performance of assets are shared. The second model is kano rau, Diversified Ownership. Here, each rōpū would own some of their own assets and be responsible for those. Tātou Tātou o Te Wairoa Trust also owns some assets. Rōpū and Tātou Tātou can engage in a management policy to share administration of commercial assets. Let's now look at the key features of the 2 models. Remember, these models are based on your feedback and are not final. Your feedback today will help shape these further. We'll start with whakatōpū, Consolidated Ownership. Key features of this model are Tātou Tātou owns all the deferred selection properties, the Patunamu and Wharerata forest interests, and any right of refusal land purchased in the future. Tātou Tātou manages these assets for the benefit of all. All ups and downs in performance of assets are shared, as are all risks, costs and administration. Everyone shares in the whole of the assets. Tātou Tātou distributes profits to rōpū annually, reinvests income for future generations and funds operations. Grouping assets will create economies of scale, guided by collective decision-making. In comparison, kano rau, Diversified Ownership, means that ownership of assets is shared. On settlement, rōpū could be allocated a percentage of all cash and assets, with the remaining cash and assets pooled in tātou tātou. Rōpū and tātou tātou can engage in a management policy to share administration of commercial assets. Under this model, profits and losses are incurred by the rōpū from the assets that they own. For commercial properties, a rōpū will need to instruct tātou tātou to exercise a right to purchase a deferred selection property or future RFR site. Dispute resolution processes will be put in place if rōpū cannot agree on ownership of certain assets. Cultural redress relationships remain with tātou tātou. So, those are the two refined models. To see these in more detail, go to pages 18 to 21 of your information booklet. It's important to understand that what you have seen today is not final. We are simply seeking your feedback to determine if we have heard you correctly in August, and if we've got it right. Today we want your feedback on our aspirations, values and principles, our representation approach, our two asset management models. Let's now recap. We are holding the second series of Engagement Hui to check we've heard you correctly and seek your feedback on the refined models. In February next year, we plan on holding a ratification process on the special resolutions required by our trust deed, where we will ask you to vote on our potential asset and representation arrangements. What we recommend to you then will be heavily influenced by what you tell us today. We anticipate that in early to mid-2018, our settlement legislation is likely to pass its final reading and become law. That will bring an end to over 30 years of mahi on this important kaupapa. However, it is just the beginning of our new era. By the end of August 2018, we will need to complete the amendments to the trust deed by special resolution, and in October there will be new trustee elections. It's an incredibly busy but exciting time for our whānau, and we are grateful you are here on this journey with us. You can provide feedback on the feedback form at the back of your information booklet, or through our online feedback form on the Tātou Tātou website, or on our Facebook page. Remember, it is you, our people, who decide on the final asset and representation arrangements. In 2018, all adult registered members will have the opportunity to vote on the special resolutions. So please check with whānau to ensure they're registered. If not, tell them to head to our website now. We'll now have questions and answers. Before we do, we have the following ground rules. Please respect others and remain quiet so that their questions can be heard clearly. Please identify yourself when you speak so we can record your name. Please keep questions related to the aspirations, values and principles, the recommended representation approach, or the two asset ownership models outlined today. For other matters, please talk to one of your representatives. Nō reira, from all of us here at Tātou Tātou o Te Wairoa Trust, ngā mihi nui kia koutou katoa. Mauri ora.
Whānau. Thank you for listening to that. It may stimulate you, it may do all sorts of thinking regarding what we've come up with in terms of the proposals, in terms of the models, in terms of the representation approach. I hope it leads to some good questions, but also leads to us continuing on this dialogue. As I said, it's a process, we're on a journey. We need to keep working together on it. So, just to start off with, you would have seen the values and principles section, which we came out first in August. Just to get your ideas on that, we've consolidated down a little bit more. The feedback we got from our members that there was too many up there. So what we've done is kind of narrowed them down into different areas, and under each of those different areas sits a whole lot of other principles in that. So we understand that it's good to have a whole range of principles, but it's also at the same time it's good to make sure that we can look at those principles and we can then measure ourselves by those principles to make sure that we are abiding by them, we're achieving them, we're working towards our vision and our mission and our aspirations that we also put up there. So we're trying to create a kind of an idea and a conceptual idea about where we want to go. These are our principles and these are our aspirations to achieve that. So hopefully that's reflective of all the feedback. Feedback we got so far is yes, that is. That's good work. We've culminated into an area. So the opportunity is still there to refine those and make changes to that. So we expect that to be the kind of the non-controversial part of the whole presentation. Then when we get into the other bits and aspects of the presentation around the representation, which is the next bit, there is a lot of questions that Tātou have inherited from the Te Whakiemi days, or even further back at the Warra Working Group days, the mandate days. Particular reference to page 16. It is just a reflection of where the trustee sits currently. We know that we need to make changes to the current structure in that. We're working through that process as outlined in the timeline. We're going to do a trustee review whereby those particular groupings that's pertained in the booklet, can be changed and edited. But to do that, we need to make a change to the trustee to do that as it currently sits. So there is a process to do that, and we're working through that. But at the same time, representation, we haven't said that they are the groupings on page 16. We just said, well, here's where we're at currently. Do we want to move to the trustees have moved to a rohe tupuna-based approach? Now, under that approach, it's up to those individual rōpū to come up with how they want to particularly structure themselves. So we're not saying to those particular rōpū, this is how you need to look, these are the hapu, these are the marae. That's for those rōpū to work out, and if there's a cross overlap, then those rōpū will need to have that and go through a process of themselves, discussing that. Tātou has taken the hands-off approach. Rōpū, we've heard through our feedback in August that there should be a rōpū, and we understand there should be a rōpū. Everyone's happy with the rōpū structure. We had a look, of course, there was also strong feedback for marae bench representation, hapu-based representation. But when we looked at those particular representation models for other iwis and PSGs, we had quite a lot of marae, over 40 marae, over 100 hapu, and we had to create quite a large governance structure that could take up quite a bit of resource to run. So, and our members are familiar with the kahui structure that we have now currently. It was just thought that if we continued with that particular arrangement, then we left the individual rōpū to come up with how best they want to represent themselves, then that would be a compromise between making sure that if it's going to be a marae-based rōpū representation for this particular rōpū, that was kei te pai, they could do it that way. If another group wanted to do it another way, kei te pai too. But in the same respect, we need to make sure that those representations are reflective of all those particular members within that group and make sure that it's fair, transparent and balanced. So just more high-level stuff from Tātou saying about those rōpū structures. So we weren't wanting to impose a blanket structure across everyone. Everyone's slightly unique and different. We want to keep that uniqueness and difference because that is our strength, making sure that that's contained within the structure of Tātou. Cool. So that's the representation kind of where we were thinking in terms of that. And also we heard quite strongly through the August engagement about whether a rōpū, particularly, it came through quite strongly about Rongo Mauhine Nai Taraka Tō wanting to run be independent of Tātou. So So we thought, well, how can we run this process? But we also needed to make sure that this particular process was available to other rōpū if they wanted to exercise this right as well, to make it fair and transparent across everyone. So we heard that feedback loud and clear. We've come up with a particular process in there. It's still under discussion and review. There's certain steps that we're still working through, but it's kind of where the trustees have landed at this point in time in the booklet to give our members the idea of what that framework will look like, because we need our members to ratify the framework, because any changes to the trust deed will need to incorporate that, and that needs to be done by all our members, not just those particular rōpū they're wanting to exit. So we've got to be all up front to say, well, this, if you want to be independent, this is the process. Here it is here. It'll be available due to exercise. And then following on from the independence process, we come to the two models. Now we're getting a bit of confusion about when we came out in August. We had three kind of concepts, and now we only got two. Well, they're a bit different. In August we had high-level concepts that were just kind of high-level frameworks, and at either end of that spectrum was a devolution, an amalgamation, and a collaboration in the middle. Now we've listened to our members that says, well, you need to come back with us a bit more detail to what that looks like on the ground. So the next level underneath that is these two particular models. So we've moved in a little bit, because we're trying to narrow it down as we come through the engagement and come with two models. And basically the amalgamation, we heard strongly that there needs to be rōpū representation, so that wasn't going to work with our amalgamation presentation that we came out in August with, because that had no rōpūs at all, had no kahui, had no nothing. So it just had tātou. So our members said that we want to have rōpūs and tātou, so that's kind of reflective in both of the models. And then also, our members also said they want to be able to exercise their mana motahake through their rōpū, and that's where Model 2 is focused around, providing a bit of balance between the two. We understand that some rōpū want to get on and get things done now. They think they can do it themselves and want to do that, and we want to foster that. So that's what Model 2 is reflective of. But also in Model 1, our members also thought about the asset keeping together, trying to grow that asset collectively, and then using the income that derived from that asset to build up services for those rōpū to deliver. So yeah, just a clear distinction. This is the next step down. It's the detail, and gives you an idea what it would look on the ground and how it would operate in terms of the two specific models. Another key point our members have come up with, or the trustees need you to help us with, is to do with the distribution, whether it's the asset, whether it's the income. There's an assumption that it should be equal, but in saying equal, it may not be fair in terms of working out what a particular rōpū's area of interest is, what a rōpū's population is, and what particular treaty breaches occurred to that rōpū. Now that could be different with different rōpū. So we need to work on what those factors are that will determine what those percentages or distribution policies are in terms of the asset, if we're going to devolve the asset, as well as what the income distribution should look like in terms of how does each rōpū benefit. Is it benefit equally, or is it benefit on a formula that incorporates the population, area of interest, loss of life? So we're just working through that. Yeah, so nearly there. So yeah, so that's just a reflection of where we're at in terms of the process. It is very difficult conversations to have, and the trustees have been having some of these difficult conversations, as you must admit. It is not, we've got a diverse opinion, but at the same time, we're working through that collectively to make sure that the information we present here is reflective of all the ideas at the trustee level. So, as well as reflective of our members and what they think. So if you think we're going off on the wrong path, please tell us today. If you think we've done a good job, please tell us that too. If we haven't, we want to hear both. We want to hear both the criticisms and as well as the compliments. I know our trustees work tirelessly to get this information out. There were some late deadlines and then getting the information together. It's, as I said in the presentation, it's still under review. It's a work in progress. So the booklet, just take it as a mere snapshot of where we're at currently. It's not the end where we're trying to get to. So the idea is for the trustees to come at the final point is to reach a single model, but we may not get to a single model, a single one. We need to prepare ourselves that we could be looking at a recommendation from the trustees that has a number of models where our members will need to decide. Because if we can't get to that single point, then the trustees need to be all making a recommendation that hopefully it'll be in the hands of our members to make that final decision. But we need to put the right models of the right concepts up to make sure that our members are voting on what they think is the right direction. So cool. So starting off with our Q&A, I'm not going to take any further time on the mic. I just want to focus our questions to the booklet. And at the back of the booklet, there's all the key questions that we're after. There's some questions around the aspirations, values and principles. If you want to import on that, do so. But the first lot of questions focus around that representation arrangement. Are the existing ka hui structure model the best going to help us, or is it some other structure? So we've kind of thought that it's done us well today. We want to continue on with that particular structure, but just tweak it and change it to make sure that's truly reflective of our rules we're on the ground. So yeah, so we're starting off with representation, and also involved in that representation structure is that independence at all-through process and what our members think of it, whether it's kapa.
We've got one roving mic, and your questions in the Whakaaro are really important to us, and we've got people who are coming in on live stream, so just give us time to get the mic to you so you can ask your question.
Here. We'll go to page 16. Focus on. Rōpū independence process, which also raises some concerns, because if a rōpū decides to leave, would we not, if we're talking manaakitanga and rangatiratanga, that the other rōpū would support that rōpū in leaving? Why would it be a vote?
Yeah, Alan, just to clarify, evolution was a concept that was a concept, not a model. And if that concept of the full devolution wasn't achievable because the Crown, through the settlement process, only recognised tātou, a singular entity, those relations, cultural, RFR properties need to sit with tātou. So we couldn't devolve the whole settlement. So that's why devolution, we come down to the next phase where those particular concepts have to sit with tātou, so tātou has to exist under the two models. And then for full devolution, as you rightly said, is the independence process. But as the trustee currently stands, we need to run through a change that requires 75% members to make that change. So to introduce the framework, all the members need to agree that framework needs to be in the trustee. And then for a rōpū to exit, they'll need to vote themselves about the exit, whether they exit. So, and then the last step that's kind of grayed out in the book is about the deal, not about the exit. So if a rōpū votes to be independent, that's fine. Everyone recognises and accepts, because we all agreed to the framework from the start with, that if a rōpū went through the process, then we are fine with it. But it's just that last step about the deal in terms of the assets. We're still working through that process about whether, how does that operate.
You're saying, so first of all, on an exit process, and then the second part would be what that exit process would look like. Is that correct?
Well, once you're agreed on the framework, everyone's got to vote on the framework. So that's fine. So everyone agrees to and knows up front what the framework is. So they understand if a particular rōpū wanted to exercise it within a particular period of time, then, and that vote and that rōpū went through successfully with that, then all the other rōpū would accept that. You know what I mean? So because we agreed to the framework up front, we all know what the process is going through it, and then we all know what the outcomes of something if it's successful. So the bit that's confusing is that the assets all sit with Tātou Tātou currently. So to get the assets divided up on what the deal is, the members currently, as it sits in the trustee in 2.5, have to vote on the deal to give us independent rōpū the assets or whatever the deal is. So. No, the Crown still only recognise Tātou Tātou. They don't see the rōpū because that's the way the deal was structured with the negotiations, because it was one comprehensive settlement. The Crown never ascertained individual rōpū's rights, individual rōpū breaches, individual rōpū population. They just saw one entity, Tātou Tātou. So Tātou Tātou has to stay there because the Crown is only dealing with Tātou Tātou. If 6 rōpū left and left 1 rōpū there, they would be Tātou Tātou, but they would be burdened with all the responsibilities of dealing with the Crown, dealing with all the relationship agreements, because basically that's what Tātou Tātou needs to do. It's the centralised entity to receive those initially assets, and then relationship continue on dealing with the relationships with Crown, the properties, everything else. So that's it, error day.
It's not ours, our trustees shouldn't decide on that. That's what you told us throughout the meeting. So we're coming back out to show you what it looks like. But there are there's one option if you want to exit. There's a specific thing that has to happen within the trustee. If you want to leave everything together, model 1, there's a specific thing that has to happen in the trustee. Same with model 2. Some in, some out. There are things that have to happen. It's as simple as that, but it's up to you. Tell us what you want.
So that leads to the first point now. Do we have an independence process? That's what we've got to agree to first. First question up. That's the first question you see in the back of the booklets. You know, is this something we need to do? And it's clearly come through on the feedback. One particular rōpū want to go through that process, so, and that's it.
Have a look at the questions at the back of the book, and they might help us to focus on giving us some feedback.
Oh.
So there's a yes and a no and a bit of comment around that question. But don't be afraid to ask questions that we may not have covered in that book.
Firstly, kia koe, kia ora, kia ora, money is very important for us to realise all our aspirations. And what I'd love to say is, good on those, like Ronga Mai Wahine, who have plans for the future. What I'll say is that splitting up the quantum isn't the only way to achieve it.
Okay.
So money, probably there. I just do have also have a question, Leon, around registration numbers.
Yep.
And what they're looking like at the moment. And the other thing that I'd like to say is that, you know, being a trustee of Whakakima, there are definitely things that Mauri can do to assist you in registering, you know, more about our partners.
Cool. Thanks, Mauri. And there's a couple of points there I'd like to just highlight. In our original August presentation, we did ask about representation, whether we centralise it or devolve it. And we've come back with that recommendation listing clearly that representation should be devolved into those rōpū. So we understand that, and we haven't, with the amalgamation model that was proposed, or concept that was proposed, it had no rōpū representation. So in terms of representation, yes, we accept that, but like I said before, how does a rōpū constitute itself? We would leave that discussion up to them rather than it being told. Whether it's because we heard Mauri coming through quite strongly, we had Hapu coming through quite strongly as well. So, yeah. So in terms of that, in terms of the other questions you raised about the financial side of it, yes, we are looking into doing analysis of the two models, in which we'll produce financial estimates in terms of what we'd look at into the future, and we're going to be producing that information out to our members to give them an idea of it, of what you take the quantum now, and with each of the particular models, how much would you be able to earn from it over time. So we're doing that analysis. But at the same time, quite rightly said by others, you know, it's not all about the money, it's about mana motahake. On the same time, what kind of value do you put on mana motahake as well to balance out that equation? You know, the financial stuff's all good, it looks at one particular aspect, but there's also a collective, holistic aspect that we need to look at as well. And that's the difficult stuff. You can't quantify that in terms of put a value on it. The other point of registrations, currently they're sitting around about 6,500 registrations. We haven't really changed a lot. We know we've got a lot of work to do that. With our project manager, Robert Ainsley, he's taken on that role now of picking up those registrations and contacting people who've registered since ratifications to make sure that they're in the system. We know we've got to constitute the whakapapa committees that validate the registrations as well. There are also some complications around the rōpū independence process. Members need to be revalidated if they want they didn't indicate in this process their primary cluster. But if another rōpū wants to go through an independence process, how does a member, if they whakapapa to other rōpū, participate in that process as well? So all people who whakapapa to a particular rōpū get the opportunity to vote in that process as well. There's a lot of work to be done around registrations. It's not just about getting more on, it's about having to go back and having a look at all the registrations again, go through a process. Because when we set them up originally, that was just for a singular vote, ratification for Te Tira's purposes. Now we're changing the purpose of the database to incorporate other aspects. We need to make sure that those other aspects have been incorporated into the database.
Just to follow on from that, as part of that, will you be writing out to members to make that available, that information available to them?
Yeah. So we're making first of all, need to go back to our members, individuals, to find out if the information we do currently have is correct, make sure that the information they have provided is accurate, that we've recorded, also get them the opportunity to make changes to that information, to incorporate other rōpū that they may whakapapa to, because some of them only put down one, there may be others they want to register with, and then provide that information back out to the rōpū, marae, those entities, once we know we've got the right information in our database.
Sure, because to me it makes me a bit nervous because over 6,000 people making decisions around $100 million.
Yep.
Kia ora, Tiaman. Te mea tuatahi ka mihi atu ahau ki a koutou nā o te puti nei. Tiamana, kai atu ki a koutou katoa. Ai, kai au te nei a koutou la. Ko mohi o tonu au, te aua, te mahi nei a koutou. Kia whakakotahi ai te iwi nei a tātou o te wairo. Ko tāku nei pātai, i tēnei mea, engari, ka tahuri au te iwi, te reo tauiwi hei whakamāmā tēnei kōrero nei mākauta. My question is around representation. Back in the days of Te Tira, I stood up in a hui here and asked why is there only 10 hapu listed on that paper out of 40 represented by Ngāti Kurupakiaka. One of the answers was, and this was from the chairman at the time, that because some of those hapu no longer exist. How can that happen? I am now one of the speakers of Taiwan Marae, and I look at the list I have here of the 40 hapu that I have to represent. I have to acknowledge them and their representation to Ngāti Kurupakiaka. So I turned to my rep, because I didn't have the proof at the time. So knowing I was coming here, she made sure I had the proof in terms of her work in getting the information I need in terms of written confirmation to Te Tira. The other answer Te Tira gave me was that that process will be left to you. I then asked them to ensure that those missing hapu be added prior to it going to Parliament. We've already had the first reading, and I'm noticing in page 16 that list has not grown to represent those hapu that I represent. You know, so I do have a major concern there, because those ones that aren't listed, I can definitely say now, will not be represented through this when they stand up to speak. Ngai Te Apatari is one of them. Is not listed on page 16. But Ngāti Kurupakiaka represents them. You know? So I have a definite concern there, because I see now that if it's happening to us, it has to be happening to the other clusters. So I'm going to submit this report and page 16 to my rep, and I'm going to ask you guys to fix that. We're going into the second reading, and I want to make sure, not only for myself and our hapu, but for everybody else, that everybody is represented. Not by registration only, but by their hapu, which is the main call. Now you talk about, you're talking about maybe changing the clusters to a rōpū hapu representation. Kia hau nei he orite. It's the same. Why are we changing it? We already have that representation. You know? I agree with the speaker prior to me. Work out a process of an agreement through you guys for those ones who do want to actually go on their own.
Got it.
So that there is an answerable, so that you fella can justify to the government as to why. You know? As to why. Secondly, I called for a report from the hapu from their hui last week. Majority of the questions they had at that hui I see have been answered here. I'm not going to go through them. I'm going to formally present it to our rep again to ensure that those questions be put forward to you at your fellows' next meeting to be clarified. Tārai tēnā rā, koutou katoa, tēnā te mihi ki a koutou rā, whera ngā pāpai nei tāku, kei a koutou te wā, hei mahi a te mahi. Tārai, tēnā rā tāku.
Just thank you for that, kōrero. There's two parts to that discussion here. One involves the Crown, and one involves just ourselves. Now, the first part with the Crown, we can't change that because that's what the Crown wants, and that's what the deal was struck. That's what the Tita signed, and that's all the Crown recognises with the bill. So we understand that. We tried through the select committee process to make that change, but the Crown don't want to make that change because they feel that that's changing the parameters of the settlement. But we said we need to make this change because we want to get it right. It's about getting it right from the start. We should have got this right from the start when we went on this process, and then we wouldn't have this issue come up. But we understand that it never happened for whatever reason. And the trustees understand they need to work through that process to make sure all those hapu, all those marae as well, are included. Not just the hapu, because there's strong discussion about how do the marae be part of this as well. So we need to recognise that too. So we understand that process is our process, and we're going to own that process to take where we are from page 16, because that's what the trustee currently says. But we need to change that, because that's not correct, and go to a process where Ropu able to determine how they want to structure themselves, who their hapu are, who the marae are that are included in it. Not for tātou to fix it, because we want you to tell us, rather than tell you what it is. That's what happened last time. We told you what it is. This time around, you need to talk with each other, your neighbours, come up to an agreement about how you want to arrange that, and then tell us. So our challenge is back to you to, put that together. What does it look like for you? These are your aspirations. What do you want to get out of the settlement? There's those type of kōrero you need to be having, but we don't want to be in that position of telling this is it. So we understand that page 16 caused a lot of trouble, but we have got to put it in there because that's where our trustee currently sits. So we need to know where we need to go from and where we want to be. Ka pai? Got it.
I don't think I need the mic. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an example of Napier. So, we have the same issue. But we wānanga, and we wānanga, and what we did was we identified in the whakapapa that Ngāti Rāwhau Tāka, or Rāwhau Tāka te tangata, brought all of those hapu together. So what I'm suggesting is that you identify a tipuna in your cluster, maybe tauira or kaoti, that brings all your hapu together. So who's tāpokoro, we ask? Who's tāpokoro? Is it a tipuna? We never know that to be a tipuna. So it might be timely that you look at a tipuna to bring all your hapu under. Yeah? Just an example of what other clusters have gone through.
It's already been done at our end. What hasn't been done is it hasn't been accepted at your end to ensure that's been included in the bill that's gone to government.
So what you're saying is that you've done all the homework.
Yeah. It
You've
just
done all
hasn't
the
been
homework.
included into the
But
bill.
what we're saying at the table is we don't see the tipuna that overarches your hapu, but we see tāpokoro. Is that a tipuna?
Excuse me,
Excuse
but
me,
So all
you're
I'm
out of
asking
order.
is,
What you're asking is Ngāti Pakiaka represents 40 hapu.
yeah, so Ngāti Kurapakiaka, should that be the name then?
no, because they're all different tipuna. You
I'm
want
asking this
Okay,
call.
we come under It was Te Tira that put us under Hapokaro #1, not us.
Or did you come with the name to Te Tira?
No, they gave it to us.
Well, no, actually, I was sitting at the table.
So what I'm saying is, what you've suggested, it's already been done. My concern is those 40 hapu that have missed out. And it's a definite because of the first reading's gone through, this has been accepted.
So we're trying to understand as trustees, we're saying, with three claims is about tipuna, hapu, marae. So
See, what I'm
should
saying
the
is-
tipuna
what
be
I'm saying is,
tapokaro
like
instead
the
of
other two.
tipuna?
Ngāi Te Apatu is not represented here because their name is not on there.
That's right.
The only way that they can be represented now is if someone like me from Ngāti Kurupakiaka itself
Yeah.
stands and speaks for them.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
So that's up to the two tapokaro group, if they're not showing hapu, then you have to sort it out within your own hapu, or under your own cluster.
That's what I'm saying, we've done that. What I'm saying is, it's not listed in the bill for them to be able to be recognised.
So, yeah, so that's all we can answer you with. Treaty settlements is driven by tipuna. So I'm asking you, is tapokaro a tipuna? Or can anyone else answer?
No? Can we move on? I think that Leon's addressed the
Yeah.
question in that we can't do anything about it from a government
No.
bill perspective, but we can do something about it post-settlement. I think that's the answer to it.
So the
And
council,
I was prepared to accept that answer. As long as something is done to
but they're
ensure
saying
that
that
everything's
Yeah, no, we've got a process, we'll work through that process. Part of the representation is part of one of the questions we're asking about, you know? And that's where you, like I said, you tell us what that look-through process is and how you want to structure yourself, rather than me telling you that you have to get together over there. So that's all I'm saying here. Simple. Rather than Tata be the one who's going to get bombarded like Te Tira did. It was the point that was kind of accused, because Te Tira was dealing with the Crown at the same time. So the Crown had that kind of overarching, but we don't have that this time. It's just ourselves. Ah.
Tēnā rata, ahemi ki a koutou nā whaingo i o te waka nei, tēnā koutou. Huri tēnei o Rōmai wahine, rāu waka tana takutai. Ki tōku hei whānau, ko Rōmai wahine tōku iwi. We are not a hapu, and it really saddens me to see that we are put in here amongst and called hapu. Koera te a wanga tuatahi ki a hau. Our aspiration is iwi, hapu, whānau, well-being. Kei whea tō mātou hauora. How is Rongomai Wahine Mana being looked after when we are put down here with hapu? Te pātai tuarua, if the government has already stipulated these rules and regulations, why did we need to talk about devolution? If that was never an option, why did you give it to us? Maumau te wā. Gave us a dream, yay, there's an option of us pulling out. Now we look at it, where's the devolution? Oh, you can't do that because government's already dictated to you what you can and cannot do. So what else is in this book that we can't change? I mean, I love wairuatanga, rangatiratanga, manaakitanga, kaitiakitanga, whanaungatanga, engari, kei whea. Where's our mana motuhake? As you probably know, Rongomai Wahine and Kahungunu have had a long, long battle. And here I feel like we're going through it again. Like our mana is being marginalised again. Give us the option to withdraw. And do not make it so difficult for it to happen. Because that's always been the raru with Kahungunu. The amount of money we have to come up with, the amount of times we've been to court, we're still playing the game. If we have a chance now to stop all of that before we get the money and the assets, because it's not about that to us. It never has been. Please guide us so that we all benefit and all of our hapu iwi whānau well-being is enhanced. Ngā mihi nui kia koutou.
Kia ora rapai. It just, I guess, summarises a history with Rongo Mahine that they've gone through over a number of decades. So to, I guess, repeat it again brings up old wounds for particularly Rongo Mahine in terms of going through this process. They've been there before. That outcome, you know, we all understand where that outcome left, and it didn't leave a nice taste with our whānau there. So I think all the other speakers who have spoken before, they support the process, having that option to do that. And just Rapai was putting the case forward that, you know, should be able to choose that option. Because at the end of the day, we did come together in 2009 at Rangiahua to do this together. So it'd be rightful to have that option to say, well, we're back here at 2018, do you want to stay together or do you want to independent? So it just completes that process rather than assuming that because we had a hui here back and we're going to stay together forever and ever a day. But at the same time, it also provides that opportunity for other rōpū who want to go through that too. It's just not for one, it needs to be there for all. Kia ora.
Ai te tuahine tēnā koe. Tēnā koe e whariki nei I o roimata. A kairunga I tō tātou nei whare. Kai te mihi. What we're particularly interested in is in terms of page 17 in the booklet. There is a process that Leon spoke about earlier. There are some questions at the back of the booklet, particularly interested in your feedback on those. Whakautua mai kairungi e nā pātai. Tēnā koe.
Questions. So we've got any questions about the models? You've got the two. We've had questions about representation, moving through the booklet. The two models, we've got the consolidated and the diversified. It's clearly reflected in the feedback. A lot of members says, well, keep it together because you earn more money over time, which is true. You know, the financial analysis doesn't lie that in the end of the day, if you keep have a larger capital, you keep it together, you get more opportunity for distribution at the end of the day. But at the same time, with another model, with Model 2, where you keep some of it together and you distribute some of it together, you have this more participation in mana motahake, but you can't quantify that in terms of dollar senses. So you can't compare the two together. We all accept that if you distribute it, you're not going to get at the overall package, you're not going to get the same amount of money to distribute at the end of the day. But you'll have more mana motahake, which the other option didn't give you. So those are the two. A lot of people get upset when they see the word ownership. You know, we come from the Wairohui we had. They shouldn't be about ownership. It shouldn't be about that. It's about kaitiakitanga, you know, managing the asset. But at the end of the day, one of the questions we have asked in the book, you know, is ownership a key factor for rōpū, or is kaitiakitanga that aspect? You know, having kaitiakitanga over that particular asset rather than owning it. Or do they fit the same purpose? But at the same time, you know, it's a diverse discussion.
We're particularly interested in any questions you've got about the two models. So te he mea pātai tanu ki ako pātai te.
Did we listen correctly? And that those two models are reflective of the conversation that you gave us in August? There is a tātou there, there is a rōpū there. We do apologise, it was just about the ownership, the assets, so that's what we came in August to talk about, asset ownership. But we need to make sure that, understand, there are, also came from the Wairohui, what happens if an asset is transferred to a rōpū? Are there some implications? Yes, there are some implications, there are some tax implications if you're transferring an asset from the collective out to individual rōpū. The Crown never allowed us to have the ability to have a tax exemption to do that. because the Crown at the end of the day only saw one entity. They ain't going to see the Tātou entity. They didn't see the other entities that sit below us. But we've got some smart cookies, accountants, lawyers within ourselves to be able to work out a process where we can minimise the impact of that if it wants to occur, if it needs to occur.
You're the chairman. No running away now, bro. I was waiting to hear, or reading this back. I would like myself, I'm Rake Parker, that Rake Parker get whatever it is that they're going to get from the deal, I suppose. Now, what happens there, what will happen, or what can happen if that be the case, that Rake Parker get their lot to do whatever they like with it, whatever they want with it, I should say. I read bits of here of what was put on the screen earlier, and it wasn't quite good to me that Rake Park, oh, you get a part of your what you get, and then Tātou holds the other bit. So what happens then when I would say now that I would like Rake Parker to get what they were given by the government? What happens then?
So with the model, you're talking about the model 2 with the diversified ownership. We said a percentage will sit with Tātou, and a percentage will potentially go with a rōpū. Now, we haven't decided or how much that percentage is, or at what point in time does a rōpū take up that percentage. So a rōpū could initially says, we don't want to take any of the percentage that's determined to be ours, but over time we will gradually build up our own capacity to do that. So it puts the decision making about what part of the asset they want to take on now, or what part of the asset they want for the future. So that then at the same time you're earning revenue from the bit that sits in the middle with Tātou. It looks after that for you. It uses the strength of Model 1, which is that collectivism, keeping the asset together to earn income that then gets distributed to rōpū. But the questions, and one of the key questions in the booklet is what's that percentage? Before we go even distribute any assets, how much is going to, how many rōpū are there? What is the ratio? What is the model for that? It's easy to say it's all equal. That's the easy bit, but I know if you had a particular treaty breach against a particular rōpū that may have been higher than other rōpū, and how does that factor in your share of it? Your area of interest is quite large, so you've got a lot of resources to look after. You've got a larger population, so you have more mouths to feed, more impact on your bit of the quantum. So it's going through that first and working out what that percentage and what that formula is and how that's to be determined before we can even get to how we're going to use it at a rōpū level. That's the difficult conversation to have first. We can easily divide it up, but is that fair? Is equal fair, or was it?
So that you're saying then that I wouldn't do Rake Parker can't get the whole and move away without.
They could do, but with the model, yeah, it's up to them. But we need to go through this process and say this is the process here. Currently, as the trustee sits, it all stays together. And as part of this work plan process that Tatira made us implement, is to work out the framework and the process. If we all decide that Model 2 is the way we want to go, then yes, then Rake Parker or any other rōpū will be able to build up their capacity to do that. But at the same time, we have also listened to the feedback and understand that there needs to be some kind of rōpū structure in either model. there's got to be there's a rōpū structure there. So to do that, we need to build the capacity to do that to begin with, whether it's just to receive a divvy every year and then determine what they need to do with it, or in Model 2, they receive a divvy and an asset. They receive two. So it's two lots, so they set the asset and a divvy as well. So, you've got to build capacity up to make sure that each of the rōpū understand their responsibilities. If they're receiving part of the quantum, or the share of the asset, do they have the expertise in place to manage that? Tātou struggling to do that themselves, to make sure we've got the right skills in place to manage the whole 100 million when it comes. Now we need to make sure that same kind of capacity is at the rōpū level to make sure when if their share comes, or if we decide that's the way we want to go, to make sure they've got the skills there to manage it. And you need to direct them about what you want them to do with it. What you want them to focus their attentions on. Is it part of the well-being? Is it cultural? Is it social? Is it economic? You get to decide that too at that level. Yeah, but if they want to do that now without receiving any share of the quantum or the settlement, yes, they can do that. But to receive any share of the settlement, then it needs to be a decision that we all agree with, because that's how it's landed collectively. We all need to agree on this is the way we're all going to want to go. If one particular group wants to go on their own, like the Tongamamahine, if that process is there for them, then yes, there's a process there. But what assets take is the next question. What proportion of it did they take, or what proportion do we distribute? That's another discussion. It's in the booklet as one of the key questions. Trustees, is it equal, or is it some other formula? It's a difficult one.
And is there risk factors involved pertaining to the model? Oh. Okay. I wanted to address the information booklet on safety precautions around the two models given, and the risk factors. Are they in this booklet?
No, sorry, we haven't yet gone to that quite an extent in terms of determining what risks are involved. If we do got a devoluted model, or any other risks involved, to do a consolidated kind of model. We haven't thought about that far. We're just collating all the feedback to make sure that are these models reflected on your feedback, or are they not? The next step is to then come back with basically our pros and cons and do all the modelling, including the financial modelling, making sure we've got that included as well.
I just want to say something in regards to Nina's comments. I didn't know I need to wara tupukarau Winton with te wara tupukarau cluster 1 or N2. We told the Crown that we weren't going to name one tipuna because we whakapapa back to different whenua through a lot of different tipuna, and at that stage we didn't want to leave them out. So some of the people had a hui at Takitimu and they decided there together. Bearing in mind this was a rush process too, and they chose to go with Te Wairua Tupukarau, which in the past people have gone out from Wairua under that name, and that's what we chose to do. And we don't tell anybody else what to name themselves, and we don't expect anyone to tell us what to name ourselves. And if we choose to decide to change our name, that's up to the people back home to do that for us. But that was one of the main reasons, was because we whakapapa back to the whenua through a lot of our tipuna. Not just, there's a heap of them. Tahu, Ruapani, Tauira, I think it's Tangaro. So I'd just like to answer, no, Janina, I'm just like putting it there now because we've put that to you at the trust board table and it didn't need to come out here. So I'm just clearing it up for the record because you know very well these are recorded. Thank you.
Thanks all. Just a reflection. We want to go through kind of a re-mandate process. This is what this representation walkthrough concept is about. I know it's more hard than we had to do it again, but we did that with the set up for a specific purpose, which is a negotiated settlement. Now we're not negotiating a settlement anymore. We're not in negotiations. We've done the breaches. We've gone through the Crown process. Now it's I guess another mandate about how should we best move forward. Whether it's as we want to discuss the existing structure of kahui, or that back up with that existing structure of rōpūs is slightly different. And it's slightly different for each rōpū. That one's basically based on hapu because that's the Crown. They want us to be based on hapu. But we know that marae are also there too. If what the rōpū wants to be based on marae, it's fine, let them do that way. Let's not have this overarching principle that the Crown have this governing policy that we need to do it as they see fit because they know best. But in this case, if we get the settlement, it's up to us, members, who know best for how we want to do this. Not the Crown. They don't know business now. They've done the deal with them. They can bugger off.
Once that paper's signed, we do have the right to make the amendments we need to in terms of
yeah, trustee is separate. That's our business. Crown don't have any changes there. But what we can't do is make amendments to the bill. That's the Crown. That's their process. But we are trustee. Bye-bye.
Kia ora, ko Mauri Marshall Ho. I'm from Taiho. This is my kaumātua that spoke previously. I just wanted to acknowledge fire over there. I can hear from last night's live stream from Wairoa and also today that there are definitely rōpūs who are looking at the option of pulling away or exiting. And I understand the process that you have to go through. It's got to be put through your constitution and voted upon, and the terms of exit decided upon and put through that constitution before anybody can look at doing something like that. I'll talk to the two models that you've proposed today. I'm in my fourth and final year of an accounting degree here at EIT currently. Auntie, the one where they were talking about that you said where some of the asset transfers to your control and the others is kept with tātou, that's like hedging your bets. It's about covering your bases. So they will manage some half or whatever the percentages of the asset to try and increase it and value it up. And you have your portion to control over. But if you crash and lose that or something happens and it reduces in value, you've covered your back, you've covered yourself because some of it sits with tātou and they will be using it in the best interests of the whānau group, to try and increase it. Now, the other one that you're talking about, where you have total control, I heard this gentleman here, Mr. Solomon, mention about looking at the current models that are in use, like, for instance, Ngāi Tahu and also Tainui. And their models is based upon your first option, where they have a governing body that controls all of that assets and multiplies it up for the benefit of all hapu and rōpū that come under the umbrella of that body. So I just wanted to kind of explain that a little bit. So there is an option to exit. My fear, and this is my training as an accountant, is that if you take your share out, you take your assets, your money, the land, whatever, be careful that you're using people who will protect those assets, and I'm feeling myself personally that I would rather give that control to a panel of experts who will use it in the best way possible, because sometimes we love our whānau, but they make decisions which are not always the best decisions that can be made at that time. Yeah, so that's all. Kia ora, I just wanted to say that.
Just go straight back to the Bobby's point here of we looked at other PhDs and what they're doing. We've got a briefing paper based on other structures. Very much so, they all start off with the consolidated approach because they were worrying about the money and making sure to grow the money quickly and as fast as possible, and by doing that, we keep it together. But at the same time, we see that they starting to then come back towards the other model. The diversify, starting to diversify a bit more. And that, so it's a decision to us. Where do we want to start on the spectrum? Do we go through that same growing pains like they all did with the consolidated and then go to that? Or do we want to start from where they're at, understanding that we're starting from a lot of capital base because they've built up a large capital. They've got 20, 30 years on us on this process. We can't replicate that overnight. Money can only grow as quickly as a tree can grow. It doesn't do that. And you need to, as you said, the right experts who've got that expertise, because I know we all can spend money, but how many people can make money? Two separate skill sets. And we need the right people to do that.
So if you want another question.
Tēnā tātou. Ko taku ingoa, ko tā wehi Monroe. Atu o tahi, tēnei te mihi ki o koutou. Ki o koutou o tātou o te wairoa. E whakapau kaha ki tēnei kaupapa. Kua ki te au a taku tuakana e whakapau kaha ki enei o ngā mahi. O te rā a ki o koutou katoa, no reira ke te mihi atu. Firstly, in relation to the two models, or what's occurred is for me to make the vote early next year, then I'm going to be better informed in relation to, I suppose, putting the tick wherever I need to put the tick. I'm under the understanding that there may be further information coming out. You've mentioned some financial and also some risk mitigation factors. In relation to what's contained in the book, it's great. It provides a foundation in relation to myself and also my own siblings in relation to, in regards to, I suppose, being informed. And having information that allows us to make a good decision early next year. Koia noiho. Kua rangona ki te mamai o tēnā, no reira ka aro atu ki a rātou. Ko rongo ma wahine a tētai. Rākai pāka kei roti te whare, no reira ki o koutou. Me haere tonu. Me haere tonu a koutou. I rungi ino ngā mātā puno a mātā tika e aro ana a koutou. No reira a ke te mihi atu. He pātai hoki a tāku mō te taumata a kaumātua. Kei te atakau mā whā. Kei konei wetahi o rātou. Ko tāku kāri au i te tino mōhio a ko wai rātou. Kei te mōhio au i a matua kōdri. Wera o whakaki nui ārua. Ngari ko wai atu e tautoko ana, e taunaki ana i o koutou o tātou. Whakamohio mai.
Sixteenth of December now. Whakamārama koutou nā kahui komātua. Mao Kodri, Uncle Blighty. So if you're at the AGM, Kodri expressed his disappointment at our first hui, how things were done, and we would sort of just tagged along sort of thing. So there's going to be a bit of a karake and everything. And sort of introduced the kahui komātua, to the people, Okay. Because you are the komātua for he's the youngest, he's the chairman. It's Nigel Howe. Yeah, kia ora, I'm Graham Symes. Yeah. Okay.
A taku mihi atu nei kia koutou tātou mō koutou mahi. Tautoko nā hunga mea nā moemoea o tātou, ko taku tiro atu nei ki ngā wāriu, ara ngā uaratanga me ngā mātāpono. Tikana taku nei whakaaro mo e nā ahuatanga nei o pānana ki ngā mātāpono. The principles I think are really good. But I do think there's probably going to be a need to develop them in terms of how you do address some of the issues around, you know, when you got rangatiratanga, your right to be the architect of your own future. And so when we're hearing groups that want to be, you know, kei te haereki waho na kia wawahi meira nei wainga ia tātou, ai, ki tāku nei me pēwhia te whakaritanga mai raungi o ngā wāriu, o ngā uaratanga nā kairoto ienei o ngā mātāpono. But I do think it's an excellent beginning of that development. We've got those principles. My only concern at first was that I thought that I was really looking at the diversified ownership, the Kanoro model. I was first thinking on that one, but then after hearing the kōrero, I rangona ngā kōrero nei pāna nei tango mai rana tēnā rau e me taua rawa mai tātou, ka whakaeti mai rana tērā puta. And that was interesting, so I sort of got a bit of real working out now, because I'm sort of wondering, is it really the whakatōpu model that I'm now thinking of? So I'm in that dilemma there. Just at the moment, I'm still looking at Kanoro, but I'm sort of heading towards that whakatōpu now. So I think it's how that discussion is going to fathom out really between us as Wairoa. But yeah, in saying that, nei, he tino mihi atu nei kia tātou. Ahakoina kai ta haere whakamua tātou katoa nei runga I tēnei kōwhiringa, ko taku pātai tonu, as we're going ahead, forging ourselves forward with aspirations and those values, I think some people will still be holding on to their claim. And how does the actual claim of our whānau really become addressed within the moemoea, within those principles and that acknowledgement. And some people are still in that protection mode of that claim. And I think it's how do we move forward in terms of addressing that too. Kia ora.
You spoke here about providing more information. We know we need to rather come back with a bit more detail so that you're fully informed about what we're thinking, what the model is. So just the indication that this is a starting point. We know we need to explain it a bit more, come up with a bit more detail so that you're fully got an idea of, we can make that informed decision. And rather than a group of trustees direct you in a particular way, we want to present your information to you, and then from there you make that decision.
O kia ora, ko kōtru hua tōku ingoa. Kau tētahi o ngā kaumātua te tōpū hina manuhiri. Kei te kia te mātou ko te kaumā mātou kei rungi te kaunihira kaumātua. Ko māu ko Graham, rāua ko Liz Hunkin, ngā kaumātua o Rākai Pāka. Ko māua ko Mihi McLeod, ngā kaumātua mō Hene Manuhiri. Ko Hene Con rāua ko Rose Pere, ngā kaumātua mō Tāpokorau Tahi. Mo whanganui ārua, whakaki nui ārua, aroha mai. Ko Walter rāua ko Nigel tō mātou nei tiamana. I te wā i kōwhiri mātou, ko wai e tātake ana mātou, e whakaena te toko maha, ko te pepi o te rōpu, koina ko Nigel. Ko Kenny Campbell rāua ko Sophie Cracknell, te maanga, te kōre, ngā kaumātua mō rongo mai wahine, ko Rihari, Pūnaki, Gabriel, mō Waikare moana, ko Wadware, ngā tokoru o Tāpokorau rua. The Paku woman. Yeah, Tāpokorau. Aja, ko ware. Te wahine kauai. Erana. So koto mātou nei mahi, kia whāngai mohiotanga ki ngā kaitiaki, ki ngā o tātou, me te whakakotahi, tātou ia tātou. He tino mahi tāua, ko kai te rongo au, o tēnei rōpu kai te hea ki te nuku, engari kai te ki mātou, ngā kaumātua, kia whakakotahi tātou ia tātou. Aha ko he aha tēnā. Ka rongo au ngā kōrero tō tēnā rōpu. Kei te pai, ki au nei. Me ina ka hia hana koutou, tō koutou ake rangatiratanga, o kai a koutou tēnā. Engari, kei te whakahaere, kei te whakamahere, kei te rautaki hia, ngā kaitiaki, ka pēhe tātou kia mahi a tāua mahi. Rensa, engari, koina oku nei kōrero, mō tō mātou nei rōpu mō Hene Manuhiri, ka tū ngā elections wainganui a mātou. He take tāku e pāna ki ngā hapu o Hene Manuhiri. Engari, kei te pai ki au ko Hene Manuhiri, ngā toko rima o Hene Manuhiri, toko rima ana tamariki, ko tama te rangi mākoro hinga ngā pūpuni pareroa. Ki raro i a rātou, he hapu anō kai raro. So he toko maha engari, kei te kia atu ki taku tuahine, kai he hene te rā, kai he ngāti kōtore, kai he tēnā, engari, ko aua hapu kai raro ia i aua tipuna. So, māna, mā māua nei i a māngai, kai runga i te tira, kai runga i tātou, tō rātou mahi ka pehe rātou, ka pehe rāua, e hāngai tō mātou ake whare i raro i te Hene Manuhiri. Tā koina. But engari, he wā ki te tautoko, pērā ki taku tuahine ki ana nei, pai ana, he hua kai roto i te whare tōpu, he hua kai raro i te kanorau. So kātai kai tau, hātaku hia, he me iti no tēnā, he me iti no tēnā. Kia ora.
What we'd like to influence you to do is in the back pages of this booklet, there are questions and there's opportunity for you to feedback. Either in the booklet, tear the pages out and give them to one of your trustees, or go online. But the whole purpose of e rua haora e wānanga tatai, e te rangi nei, ka nui, ka nui. We won't finish and resolve everything in this 2 hours that we've just spent together. But there's more time for you, and kai te mihi kia koe, what a wonderful dilemma that you have. That dilemma of kanurau on one side and whakatōpu on the other, that dilemma. We should all be in that dilemma. Hey, so please give us your feedback. Without it, difficult for tātou to move. So I'm just going to pass to our chair, and he may wish to sum up, and then we're going to do our karakia ke o tia I tēnei wahanga I o tata.
Well, whānau, I think, as Pierre just said, we're not going to solve everything today or tomorrow or the day after, but at least we continue to have those discussions. You have the opportunity to feedback and continue talking with yourself, within yourselves, within your whānau, within your hapu, within the marae, within your clusters. So we want to encourage that to continue, whether it's online or through the booklets. Provide us with that feedback. We need that clear direction, and hopefully we move forward. But just the one final point, just to acknowledge the Kaumātua Kāhui Committee that we established. We might have frightened them from the outset and put a lot of this, oh, you're going to make that decision for us. We might have scared them a little bit, but over time we've kind of developing how we're working in collaboratively with them. I met with them on Tuesday. I presented the information you've seen to them first, as respect for them. They got to look at it first and have a look at it and then provide some feedback. We'll continue to work with them in that manner, to liaise with them to provide us with some guidance, because we know that they are an integral part of our operation making going forward, and we constitute them, we support them, we provide them a venue, provide them with meeting minutes. I think sometimes they think they are tātou, but they actually are moved into the same venue that we have our meetings in, so they're kind of trying to mirror us a bit, so we're watching behind our back, so we'll make sure we can live up to and fulfill our role. So without further ado, I encourage you to meet with your trustees as we introduce ourselves at a cup of tea outside. Have those conversations with them one-on-one to stimulate and further continue the discussion. Namihi.
Caudry said that Nigel was the pepe and he's the chair, and he came to our Whakaki Nui Arua group and he said he was under a bit of pressure. Hey, but that's what the chair does, receives all the love. Hey, ka tau mai te aroha kairungi a ia. Caudry said to give the mic to Graham.
Kia ora tātou. Inoi tātou. E tō mātou mati te rangi, he whakawhatai atu ni kia koe. Mō tu manaki tangi, tēnei rangi. Nā hau manaki te mātou. Nā uri o nā tipuna o te rohe te wairo, taiti ki te mahia. Nā reira, kia whakapaingia mātou, o mātou whānau, tamariki mokapuna, nā kui o nā karua, nā tangata kato, hiroto nā hoi pera, nā tangata mauiwi ana, a pauri ana I tēnei wā. Nā reira, e pā, kia whakakore tingo tapu ringo tingo tō tama i karaiti. Āmen.